All right. I'm just gonna start talking, and then in like 30 minutes, I'll put up a video on my main channel telling you guys to show up here. But first, I'm gonna see how things look from the stream's end. All right, since I see some people are starting to show up, I said earlier that we're gonna wait until like what did I say? I said I was gonna wait like 30 minutes. So like actually now it's like less than 30. But at 8:30 I'm gonna upload a video on my main channel, basically being like, "Hey guys, go show up to this stream." But until then, um, let's watch this video real quick. I've already seen it, but it's a very funny watch. He says, "Be careful defaming." Like I don't know. I disagree, but it's too comedy for me to get angry. And also, most of the guys you hear aren't even like they're in all these videos. I didn't realize you could co-publish stuff on YouTube. I feel like it wasn't like this when I first watched this video. I feel like we just had Jubilee, and then now all of it, whatever. Anyway, uh, what's going on? All right, I'm just gonna go here. So all these like 20 versus one, all of them. It's like 20 morons versus like one person who knows more than everybody else. Except for this one, it was the other way around, and this one too. But for most of these videos, it's like the 20 are like people who are just complete morons. And I don't just mean that like, oh, they're all right wingers or whatever. I mean like, even when it's a right winger versus like a bunch of left wingers, usually the right winger is more intelligent than all of them combined. That's usually how it is. So like, I may not agree, and listen, this is not gonna be the politics stream. Don't worry, I'm just saying to say it. But listen, I'm not gonna be the guy to like go into politics, but it's just it's painful to watch these these morons go up against somebody who just knows. I wouldn't say basic. That's a little too like belittling or whatever. But they just I don't know. If you don't agree with someone and you know you can't like wrap your like words around them, don't even bother. This claim is kind of weird because I don't think anybody disagrees with that idea. They just don't like capitalism itself. And that being said, I don't even agree that, you know, incentive drives society forward. But aside from all that, um, well, I mean, at least personal incentive doesn't necessarily always drive society forward. But that being said, um, I am not a socialist, and all these guys are, you know, most of them aren't smart enough to even articulate why what they believe is correct. So it's just unfortunate. But the thing is, he responded by saying incentive isn't the only thing that's born out of capitalism. I mean, incentive isn't only born out of capitalism, which is true. There are other means of incentive besides just capitalism, but that isn't the claim that this Patrick guy made. So, you know, uh, I don't know. I feel like they're both correct, but they're not even on the same page about what they're even talking about. Like I said, I watched the video all before, so it's not like I'm, you know, watching it for the first time. But on one hand, this guy's talking about how like people are alienated by being in trash jobs, which is facts. But again, his claim was that incentive is what drives people to like innovate and move forward, and that's why capitalism's the best. I mean, that's what he's trying to say. And you bringing up how people are having to work really hard because they are broke and face starvation, homelessness. Well, true, you're not proving why people could innovate without incentive, which I think they can. I'm not even saying like, oh, incentive is like the only thing driving society forward. I'm just saying like, as a means to defeat this argument, I don't think this is like the right. Also, I know this guy's talking to. He said most people wouldn't bite that bullet. Yeah, they would. All these like super capitalist bros are all about the idea that like humanity is inherently unequal and the better survive and are better because they are inherently better as they make more money. So if you are not like if you're poor and broke, then it's because it's your fault. I mean, that's how they believe in general. Like that's not really a rare thing for someone to do. If I mean somebody like this to do. They're both not even addressing the actual prompt. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Now they're just talking about, like, incentive in terms of an individual person's ability to work. I mean, to bring themselves to wealth. But it's like, is and nobody's expecting everyone to be wealthy in the first place. It's about, like, what system provides the most overall good for society, all else equal, but whatever. Okay, you know how I said earlier that like everyone here is a moron and usually the guy in the middle is like smarter? Not with him. Um, they're about either the same level or he's slightly higher than him. Cause like I don't fully agree with what he's saying, but he's definitely more like concise and he knows what he's talking about a little more. This whole like you can make the argument to meritocracy because you can make the argument that most rich people have to work to stay rich. I'm not talking about like, heirs who like inherited like $1 trillion. I mean like uh the professional class of doctors and lawyers when they have children who are also doctors and lawyers and whatever. It's not like their children just like were born to be doctors or lawyers. Like they had to go to school. They had to like they inherited their parents' money to be well off, and that's like not fair to everybody who's not well off, obviously. But they still have to work to stay professional. You could be the son of a rich person and still be broke, and you could be broke and still be rich. There's like a I don't want to say study. there's like, well, I guess I will just say study of like wealth categories between birth and, you know, how they end up as adults. And for the most part, the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. But the upwards mobility exists. It exists enough to say like it is possible for a poor person to be broke, and it is possible for a poor person and a broke person. I said poor person to be broke. I mean, it's possible for a rich person to like not do anything and end up being broke, and it's possible for a poor person to be rich, at least grow up poor and be rich in their adult life. I don't think the majority of millionaires were born millionaires. Billionaires maybe because, you know, generational wealth, but millionaires like the professional class, the business owning class, that those people. I mean, like the small medium business owner, not like the, you know, tycoons. Those guys tend to just be like middle class, upper middle class, and then become super rich later. So if he said that, he may have gotten him there, but instead he's talking about how like, oh well, the parents work. That's a make. If your parents work for what you have, and then you are born into it, you don't. That's not merit. Also, another unfortunate thing about this whole video is that their definitions of capitalism is really weird. It's like by capitalism they mean like the hyper, you know, market American system specifically. That at least what Patrick means, and it's like a lot of socialists when they say capitalism they mean anything that involves markets. I mean, at least when it doesn't like go against what they want. So like to them, any country that isn't like, or any society that doesn't have complete like centralized economic structures is a capitalist country, which is kind of how I look at it too, honestly. So later on in the video, you're gonna see them bring up stuff like, you know, the Nordic countries and say, oh well, that's because socialism working, but it's not. They're not socialist countries. Also, capitalism and feudalism, monarchy are all not the same thing. Feudalism is on the same spectrum. Feudalism is also a type of like, you know, organized society, but monarchy is not even on the same. It's not even at the same category. You can be monarchical and capitalist. You can be monarchical and not capitalist. You said there's no video audio. Hold on. I'm glad you told me now before I made the video. I mean, before I uploaded the video, but I'm trying to see what's the problem. But hey to Kareem Entertainment and Board Rashid. I'm just trying to fix the audio real quick, like the audio for the desktop. Maybe it's because I didn't add one. Hold on. Let me see if this works.
The best way to judge.
Okay, it does work. Um. All right. Basically, for the time being, until I upload whatever video on YouTube, we're going to be looking at this video, this funny video.
It is in a very simple way. Take all the countries around the world. There's many different economical systems.
There really isn't. There's like two. There's really like just two. and like 180 follow one, and like 2 follow the other.
Longest line of people wanting to get in there. It's America. Why is that? 15 million people came here illegally. Millions came here illegally just the last 4 years.
But a lot of that is because
Why
of
do they
economic
choose to
scarcity
come
in other
here?
countries. Well, one of them, we could talk about one, is American exceptionalism, which is continuing. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it.
Imagine.
Meet Base 4.
How are you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alana. It's nice to meet you. Okay, so I think the issue is the framing of incentive here. Incentive doesn't disappear in a socialist or a communist society. It just changes and evolves. So we see in capitalism,
This is true, what she's saying.
the incentive is obviously monetary gain, maybe even collecting capital itself through land ownership. In a communist or a socialist country, you would see incentive would just evolve into, I know it's a vague term, but the common good. You have an incentive to do your chores around your house because you don't want to live in a filthy house, right? That makes sense. It doesn't have to be just monetary.
So you don't think monetary
Also, a lot of these anti-capitalists speak as though in social societies exist in real life, you also don't have to work to survive or something. Like they're saying in the future, we'll have a society where you don't have to work under the threat of homelessness or starvation, like in this system we live in now. But like, that's not even what's going on in every country, in every social system, whether it's feudalism or capitalism or socialism or whatever you want. You will have to work to survive as long as everything isn't automated. And if that was the case, you could still, if everything was like automated, like all the food and all the every service like you needed was automated and super cheap, you wouldn't have to work to survive in capitalism either. But like, as long as that's not the case, it doesn't matter what system you live in. You'd have to work to survive. Fortunately,
incentive drives
I hate working.
people, or you're saying that people should be excited to do their job, whether they're getting incentivized for it or not? That's
views on the assassination. I think it was a not good thing for the person to do.
That's what you're saying.
People will be incentivized to do.
Give me a case study. Give
anything.
me a case study of that worked. Give me one case study.
We don't even need to look at case studies. We can just look at charity work.
Well, why
Do people not?
don't we actually look at a case study? You got two countries, North Korea, South Korea. One is communism and one is capitalism.
Yes.
North Korea's GDP last year was $23 billion.
Are we
There
judging
many
countries' values based
there
off
are many
GDP
that's
and not
because
what
that's
they value?
You can. This is a problem with him. He's saying in North Korea and South Korea, their GDP of North Korea is way higher. I mean, South Korea is way higher. That's why it's better. That's a fact, and that's true. But then she's gonna say, "Oh well, GDP is everything." GDP, okay, that's true as well. In every metric that matters, whether it's life expectancy, or the caloric intake, or like electrification, access to clean water, anything that actually matters, I'm pretty sure South Korea is winning. Now that being said, the North Korea socialist defenders will say something like, well, that's because North Korea's under sanctions, and that's true too. So it's hard to tell how much of their failures because of sanctions and how much because of poor economic planning. But if I had to guess, even without the sanctions, they'd probably still be behind.
Value for
freedom of speech.
our
You can't,
humans
like,
or-
if you lived in North Korea, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing right now. You wouldn't have a
Yeah,
voice. In
there-
South Korea, I'm gonna give you stats. In South Korea, their GDP is $1.7 trillion.
South Korea is also owned by like 5
70
companies.
times-
What's the difference between owned by 5 companies and being owned by one government that's private? Like, the government in these countries is not, like, actually of the people. So, I actually want to find out. I mean, I want to make sure I'm not, like, talking out my ass. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so again, take away the GDP that you hate so much. And by every metric that matters, they're still doing better. So it is what it is.
In total, in the entire
70
country.
times better
You
than
think
North
that's something to
Korea.
live by? If you
No,
aren't
what I'm
employed
saying
by
is
the
people
top
wanna
5
be free.
countries, you are practically
do you like to
unemployed
be
in
free?
these countries.
Do you like to be free?
I'm not going to be free in a country like South Korea where I'm only employed
Do you
in
like to
5
be free
companies
to
or
call
no
somebody
job.
out like me? Do you like to?
Again, like she said, if she's employed by 5 companies or no job, as if the alternative of being employed by the government or no life is really a choice. Because like if those 5 companies don't like you, you have no job, right? If the government's like you, you're in jail. Like completely.
To be free where you can have a strong opinion. Do you like to be free to have your
I
dreams
like to be
as...
free, but that's why I'm anti-capitalist.
Well, maybe you ought to
That
move
is
to
why
North
I'm
Korea or
anti-capitalist, because
Cuba or
capitalism
Venezuela.
removes that choice. There is no real incentive of capitalism because the incentive is survival.
if I
when
were
you get
to-
into communism, the incentive is for the common
I
good.
love that. I got an offer for you before we move on. If I were to give you your 20...
Again, this is like a misframing of both systems. Under capitalism, the incentive is for personal success. That's why the people who are at the top do what they do. And it is true under socialism that the incentive for the society is the common good and not to, maximize profits like in capitalism. Like on a macro level, that's true. But for the individual person who's just living their life, you will have to work either way. There's no like summer book writing job. Like you are going to have to work.
$350, which is the cost to renunciate your citizenship, and I paid you your first class, flight to whatever communist country, and $20,000 of spending
me a
money.
communist country.
Would you give up your citizenship?
And there's going to be a little trick. Like there's no communist country because communism it abolishes statehood. Like okay.
A
to that
communist country, and I'll
whichever
move out there.
communist country you want to go to.
yeah,
Cuba,
then
we
that's
can
not
give
a
you
communist
Venezuela,
country.
we give you North Korea, anyone.
Exactly. Cuba's not communist, like North Korea's not communist. So like no country's communist. Those are like the only 2 communist countries in the world.
One of those you
No, China and Vietnam don't count, and neither does Laos.
Those
go
aren't
to.
communist countries. Not
choose any one of them. I'll give you a one-way ticket, and I'll fund it for you if you want to.
That's it.
Thank you. Yes.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other work management platforms.
Hi,
What's your name?
my name's Hunter. I'm
Hunter,
gonna be
nice to
honest,
meet
I've
you.
never seen your videos before. Even though there is some real value to free enterprise,
Yep.
the profit motive often creates a perverse incentive and worse outcomes in certain situations. For example, healthcare. How much would you pay for a life-saving treatment for yourself or one of your family members?
How much would I pay for it?
Say you have cancer and you have an 80% survival rate with chemotherapy and less than a 10% without it. How much would you pay? Whatever it takes, right?
Sure.
That's a situation of inelastic demand when the amount that you're willing to pay is not based on the value of the service because your life does not have a finite value. In the US, 66.5% of all bankruptcies are because of medical debt. In most other developed nations, that number is way lower, if not zero. And at the
This is true, and I agree with him on this point in general. But the thing is, like, you can be a capitalist country and have universal health care.
same time, the US does not have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. We pay over $13,000 per capita. Meanwhile, Taiwan, which by most metrics has the best healthcare system and a national healthcare service, only pays about $2,500 per capita per year.
So what does that tell you?
That
tells
tells
you what?
us-
That's wasted expenditure.
Yes, that is a
So
massively wasted expenditure.
That tells you the government doesn't know how to spend our money.
No,
They keep
in our
raising
case,
taxes, we
we're
keep
spending-
more money, and they don't know how to spend the money.
No, most of that money is coming from private insurance. In fact, 77% of the people who went bankrupt from medical debt had insurance and then lost it because they couldn't pay.
So we can address that, the fact that 60-something% of bankruptcies are due to health, which is your right. We've done many content on that piece. I want you to come back to incentive. Address the issue with incentive right now, with capitalism.
The reason why the medical debt is so high in that is because of the profit motive. If people will pay whatever it takes
profit
to not
motive.
die, the profit motive in that case is perverse, because healthcare shouldn't be a market in the same way that other things might be a market.
So you don't think the motive to have profit, to come out with a solution, is a good thing for the marketplace, specifically in the healthcare side?
I think it depends on which market you're talking about.
This is all very super duper complicated, and whenever people say it's not, it's because they are being annoying. On one hand, yeah, it's true. Like, the profit motivation for healthcare is driving up costs and everything, but it has to do with a lot of like insurance stuff that is hard to untangle. And that being said, America is at the forefront of technological innovation when it comes to healthcare, and that comes at the cost of higher prices. So, like I said, I think they should have universal healthcare, but that will come at a cost, and a lot of people don't want to bear the cost. So,
it's way different. We're talking about video games or cell phones or TVs or other goods that aren't as necessary as
You're
healthcare
specific to
treatments.
healthcare.
Yes, I'm talking
Okay.
specifically about
So
healthcare
there's
in certain other markets
You
where
ever
there's
heard
a
of Home
natural...
Depot? You ever heard of Home Depot?
Yes, I'm aware.
So one of the guys who's the founders of Home Depot, investors of Home Depot, his name is Ken Langone. His father died at 62 years old. Ken Langone today is roughly 90 years old, give or take. When he died at 62 years old, he tells the story that if there was a simple thing as blood thinners, his father would have lived to be 90 years old just like he is today.
Yes. That makes sense.
Came because of innovation, which he's been on for many years. My dad's been on blood thinners for the last 40 years. So
I think
the
you're conflating two things right now. Not all innovation is the result of the market, because many healthcare developments are created by research grants from healthcare funding, whether it's in the United States or in other countries. In most other first world countries, the result of medical research developments, which are massively outpacing that in the U.S. now because of our inefficiency, because we have a market-based system for healthcare.
A very basic
most
question
of that
for
is
you.
because
A very basic
of
question
non-market-based systems.
well, I don't... That's a difficult claim. I don't know if I disagree or agree with that. Like, because as far as I can tell, the majority of innovation in America comes from... I mean, the majority of healthcare innovation in the world comes from America, like, by a large margin. All the super extremely advanced techniques, they happen in other countries too, but like America does it like way, it's just how America's military is like the biggest military ever. Like America's healthcare system is also probably like the most innovative at the expense of its citizens.
Basic question for you. If that's the case, it keeps going back to the same thing. If it's better in other places than it is here, why are Americans and others not going there? Why are people coming here? It's very basic.
I don't like this argument for other things, but for this, it's kind of true. The richest people in the world go to America for healthcare, like when they have like a problem, and there's a reason for that. Like it messes with the poorer people, like all the middle class people have to suffer with debt, but like at the end of the day, because of all this, like all these expenses that aren't fair, that's why America's healthcare is like at the peak.
How much does a plane ticket cost?
No, they have the money to go to different places. They don't, because they know America's the greatest country in the world. They know it.
Okay.
Appreciate
nice
you.
to meet you, by the way.
If a brokey could, they would go to another country. They would go, and because like they probably need something that they could get in Europe or something for cheaper, but they can't afford to do so. They can't afford to take the plane ticket and go there and stay there, so it's like a whole complicated mess. They're not citizens of those countries either, so they won't get the benefit. But the super rich go to America for everything, because if you're super rich, it's like the best.
Oh my goodness, I
All
love
these
this
ads.
question.
It's simple. We
Hey, I'm Luke.
Luke?
Yes,
Like the
Luke.
hat. Good to meet you.
Oh, thank you very
All right,
much.
I'm gonna give it another. I know you guys are here for, well, you're not really here at all, but if you were here, you'd be here for the Diddy stuff. LOL.
And turning now to our...
I'll get into this like at 8:40, but until then.
Good to meet you too. So I think incentives are exactly the fundamental problem with capitalism. Is that you say incentives are what make it work, and I think that's the whole issue. Is that the primary incentives are either greed, amass as much personal wealth as you possibly can.
You think that's the problem? It's greed?
Yeah, exactly. And like
you're not greedy at all.
And like you said, survival.
Yeah.
Right. The person.
This is just stupid from him. Like, I don't really agree with what he's saying, but like, he could totally be not greedy at all and be saying it. That's completely possible.
Working 5 jobs, that they're doing that so they wouldn't want to do that if they didn't need to survive. But that's such a horrible dystopian world to live in. If someone has to work 5 jobs just to survive,
how did they get there? How much of that is on their decision making? How much of that is on their doing? How much of that is on the market where they're not finding ways to improve themselves?
It doesn't matter how much onus is on the individual. We want to create a world.
Of course it is.
No. See, we want to create a world in which people don't have to earn their right to exist, to live.
We live in a country where majority
Again, these
of the
people
world
are talking about nothing. Like, there's no country. You think people in North Korea just don't have to work or something? Like, you think people in the Soviet Union didn't have to work? It was illegal to not work in the Soviet Union. Now, if you want to say that we shouldn't have to work for more than a certain amount of hours and not have a living wage on top of it, yeah, that's a fact. And I agree with them on that. But this whole, like, you shouldn't have to be forced to work to survive. Like, you have to work to survive in every place you live, in every level of society, unless you were disabled.
I'm here. The most important citizenship country is America.
Right.
People give up their lives to come here. Have you ever lived in another country before?
No, not lived, no.
Why do you think so many want to come here?
I think the people coming here are coming from gang-ridden, corruption-ridden, violence-ridden...
You think that's just all it is? You think I came from a gang-ridden...
Okay, I wasn't paying attention to the chat for some time, but hi to everyone who just showed up. Like I said, I will be covering the Diddy stuff and all this other nonsense later. But first, I just want to get through this video and see.
Ron, I lived there 11 years.
Well, I'm not going to get through this whole video because, one, I already watched it before, and two, I don't want to be the politics guy, so...
I think the majority of certainly coming from South America.
Most people come here because what you're doing to me, you're sitting across from me right now.
Right.
Millions of people are going to watch this. In America, you can call me out. You can say whatever you want.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen.
Right.
You're free and safe here, right?
Sure. Freedom of speech has nothing to do with capitalism.
You can't do that in Iran. Of course it is.
It doesn't have to do with capitalism itself, but freedom of speech is, like, not in socialist countries for a reason. It's not a coincidence. And it's not because of the economic system itself. It's because of this idea that, like, if the socialists allowed the capitalists to do whatever they wanted, they could form a party and upend the socialist, movement. So, no, like, you would not have freedom of speech well, you could have freedom of speech in a socialist country, that's possible, but, like, in all the social countries that existed in actual world, you did not have it.
There's a lot of elements with America. You're talking incentives.
Okay. The Jubilee Negroes have copyrighted their stuff, so I can't watch it on stream, unfortunately. That's okay though. Now we can talk about Diddy. Hopefully they didn't, make this copyrighted too, but this is CBS News, so I don't have much hope. Anyway, you know what? I don't even want to risk it. Basically, Diddy did. A lot of people have a misconception of what Diddy, was on trial for, because the first Diddy case that like blew up. I mean, I guess the second one because Cassie came first, but like some producer guy accused him of doing some really strange things. Actually, she came first, but nobody was really on that back then. I don't know if it's because it was like not reported at the time, but where am I looking at? It's a producer of his. Like a producer of his made a lawsuit against him where he said a lot of weird things were going on. This guy, yeah, he made an allegation against him that said a lot of weird stuff was going on, and that's where a lot of the baby little stuff comes from. A lot of the boys, all the stuff going on. That's where it comes from, and it could be true, but that was a civil case. The actual case that Cassie had against Diddy was about trafficking, and in that sense, it was he was basically being charged with using coercion to make her do what she didn't want to do. So he should be in jail for that, obviously. But like, it's not as easy to prove as you would think, because they had to prove like his defense was making the claim that he didn't actually have control over her. Like there would be times where she would be alone, and then she agreed to go to where he was when she told her to. When he told her to. So they were like, "Oh, well, that means it's not really trafficking because that wasn't really like his problem. That was like she could just leave if she wanted to." And then she was saying, well, it's because like, implicit threats and stuff like that made it so that she really couldn't at the end of the day. Basically, they decided that he wasn't really trafficking her because she could have left if she wanted to. She could have physically left if she wanted to. Like there was no actual like threats to her person, which, I don't want to go as far as to defend him, but he was guilty of the prostitution stuff. Like he did arrange for prostitutes to be moved across, state lines, which is a crime. And I guess he thought that he'd be free or something. And to be honest, I kind of did too. Like rich people don't face consequences. So I was thinking that he would like, get away with it, or at least mostly get away with it. Maybe he'd get like, no, I just thought he'd get time served, honestly. That was my expectation. So when he got 4 years, I was surprised. I wasn't upset, but I was surprised. But that being said, that 4 years will go down. He will not serve another 4 years in jail. He will serve like 2 or something. He'll get on good behavior. And the lawyer for the case was Brian Steele, who also defended Young Thug. This guy, like, both his defendants were found guilty. He is a good lawyer because he managed to reduce their sentences to like almost nothing. Well, not for Diddy, but like Young Thug did not beat the case. He pled guilty at the end, and there were only 2 people left who didn't plead anything, and they both got like very little time. So yeah. He only has 4 years on 2 charges. He got charged on 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. He got the 4 years because the nature of what he did is like heinous. He's on video beating her. So like that isn't what he's being charged for, but we know his character. So like it's the same thing what happened with like OJ. He killed his wife. He just did it, but he was found innocent of it in court. So when he got let me see. He went to trial over. He went to court over stealing something. Yeah, he robbed a place for his own stuff back, and then he got 33 years for it. He wouldn't have gotten 33 years in a normal circumstance, but because he was OJ and we know he kills two people, they were like, "This is our chance to get him," and that's kind of what's happened with Diddy. In a way, not really, because it's the same trial, but like they knew they couldn't get him for like the trafficking and the beating his girl because that happened under statute of limitations. So they were like, okay, we could get you on this thing that by itself wouldn't be that big a deal because we know you're a terrible person. We're gonna give you the full 4 years. And a lot of people think 4 years is a little too little or it's too much. I don't know. But I just wanted to say, like, I don't care about what he's going through because, you know, he is a criminal. But he's really not Epstein. Like, what he was doing is not what Epstein was doing. And a lot of people have this weird, like, they want to make every Hollywood sex case some weird, like, political. The Democrats are trying. It really isn't any of that. It's just him being a weirdo and being caught. What else is going on? Nicki and Cardi had a fight, and they're both wicked people. So Cardi put her album out a few weeks ago, and it was actually pretty well selling. A lot of people, there was a lot of anticipation before it happened that it would be like a flop because she hadn't put an album out in like years. So people, there was a narrative that it was like she was afraid to drop because she knew it would flop. That's how they were talking back then. And I don't listen to her. I don't listen to Nicki either. I'm not a woman. I don't listen to BP. I don't. Not that you have to be women to listen to female rappers. They're good female rappers, but like, you know, I don't listen to them. So like, this isn't really like odd music for me. It's just like the news. So her album came out and it did well. It did well, but it did not do Nicki Minaj numbers as far as I can tell. Yeah, she did like 200,000 first week. Nicki, her last album, did 228,000. So yeah, and Nicki, being a jealous older woman, got bitter that Cardi put something out. So she just announced that she like is putting her album out next March, like way out in advance because LOL. And that's whatever. Obviously, none of this really matters. But then she starts attacking children. And this is like not acceptable, whatever, whatsoever. Like, I really get mad when people. I'm not even one of those, like, the kids are so precious. Like, you know, kids can be annoying, whatever. But, like, I can't stand when grown adults attack children because they can't defend themselves, obviously. And they did nothing to you. So, it's just, like, heinous. And you're doing it in a way that, like, you're inviting other people to do it too. Like, she apologized for it, and it's still, I think the tweets are, I don't know if the tweets are actually up, I can't see them right now, but let me see. I'm pretty sure I saw one earlier, like up in the timeline though. But basically, Cardi attacked children herself years ago, so Nicki, to, I guess, prove a point, decided to attack her own children. And it's like, I don't understand why these guys are so low IQ. Okay, yeah, it's still up. She literally apologized to her, and the tweets attacking her still up. She's like, you're a monkey, and you're, like, bald, and, like, my kid has more hair than yours, and you're ugly. Again, this is like not acceptable at all. And the thing is, they say stuff like, oh, well, you know, when this happens. Actually, before I get into that, I'm gonna, like, Cardi, you know, being the low IQ person she is as well, decides to respond with, like, aggression too against a child who she believes is disabled as on top. She's like insulting a boy, a 5-year-old kid, and then people like defend it by saying, "Oh, well, she came for your kid first. Like, she came." Do you not understand that there's some things where like it's like in itself inherently wrong, and not about like, oh, I'm just lashing out because you did to me. If somebody hits you and you hit them back, hitting someone in itself is not like a moral failure. You shouldn't hit people randomly, obviously, but like hitting somebody in itself is not a moral failure. Attacking children is a moral like failing. It doesn't matter why you do it. Like, unless that kid is actively threatening your life or something, it's just not acceptable at all. And this kid doesn't even know you, so it's like, what are you doing? This argument is like, you know, they all understand the problem in their heart, and like they just choose to like, you know, do it anyway. Because if you told them like, oh, is it okay to sexually assault somebody because they sexually assaulted your mom first, they'd say no, because obviously it's not. But instead, now it's like, oh, well, she attacked her kids first, and obviously these two women are like, you know, degenerates. So like, I'm not even like, that's itself, that's whatever. What really annoys me isn't just them being like horrible people. It's the fact that they opened the door for their horrible fans to like join in. Like, it's not just them talking nonsense. Look at all these weirdos in the comments like co-signing it. Grown adults like happy that like a child is being attacked and joining there's no at least with this situation. They're both horrible people. But at the same time, this is somebody insulting like the kid if they're up, whatever. You are insulting the kid of somebody who likes up. Like, do you have any type of conscience to know that this is like way too far? Okay, to be fair, some people at least have like the decency to like say this is like not cool on both ends. Like, and then some people, well, why are you saying it? No, she's just responding. Like, you're an idiot and you're a loser and you belong in a cell and you belong like in poor and broke and homeless. Yeah, this whole thing was just you know, annoying to see. And Cardi has like a Jay-Z anti fetish, whatever the opposite of fetish is. Like, she thinks Jay-Z is like the guy who made everything in her life go wrong somehow. So part of her attacks on Cardi also attacks on him and the Rock Nation, you know, cartel. That stuff I don't really care about. This is funny though. If you not the music, but like this video is funny. Actually, I kind of want to play the actual video, like the real audio, but I don't really want to. So I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, yeah, Nikki just being a weirdo on the timeline. Probably drugs, probably like mental illness, whatever it is. She should be punished. But now she apologized and said, oh, actually, you're cool, you're cute, and I just said it because I'm making a point about how your mom said other kids are ugly monkeys. Again, if somebody assaults your mother sexually, you don't get to sexually assault their mother. Like, there are some things you just can't do regardless of whatever somebody else does to you. Because in itself, it's a moral failure. So this whole stupid, like, I may have opened the floodgates for my fans to attack you as a little kid, a 7-year-old child, but like, I just did to prove a point, so like, it's okay now. I'm sorry. Like, you're a loser. And Cardi, you know, on the beef itself, Cardi, it's kind of Nicki's fault for like, you know, blowing up a whole misunderstanding out of proportion. And it is kind of because she's jealous of like a younger person. So like, on that level, I kind of suppose it's Cardi. But she might be worse in this specific interaction. Because at least, again, I don't want to say at least because they're both like horrible people. But at the end of the day, Nicki apologized. And I don't think it's like, I don't think it makes it like cool. but she said sorry. Cardi did not apologize. These I'm sorry that you can't like, speak. This isn't an apology. This is an insult. These are insults. And then even after Nicki apologized for being a weird loser, she still attacks her kid by saying like, who was the most recent one? She called him Perk and said like, yeah, you inherited pedo blood from your parents. You're like, this is not an apology. This is like another insult. So, yeah, these people are just like, I'm not into cancel culture for anyone, and I'm not saying I want them to be canceled. I don't really care, but like, it would be cathartic if like they didn't have money anymore. This is just like morally reprehensible, and unfortunately, nobody else will call them out on it. I don't mean nobody else except for me. Everyone is calling out about it. Like, all of us are calling them out on it. But I mean all the industry people aren't calling them out. Like all the industry people aren't coming out and saying, you guys are foul and you guys should be like sanctioned for what you have done. They should get the Kanye treatment. Both of them. Anyway. I was gonna make a whole another section about Young Thug and everything that's going on with him, but hopefully this video isn't copyrighted and I can watch it on stream. If I can't watch this video on stream, if the stream goes down again, I'll just go talk about Power a little, and then I'll end the stream. And I mean Power book. Where was I? Someone donate. I watched Power Book 2 recently. I mean, Power Book 4. I saw the first season when it came out, and I thought it was, like, stupid. So I didn't watch this season until just, like, last month, and it was stupid, too. But I don't want to talk about it right now. I'll talk about it after this video. And this video is 2 hours long. We probably won't watch all of it. So maybe I'll stop it after, like, if it doesn't get copyright struck, and, I mean, if the video doesn't get taken down, if the stream doesn't get taken down, I mean, I'll probably just, like, end the stream or whatever. I mean, I'll probably just, like, end the video and then talk about the Power stuff in, like, an hour or something, or maybe 2 hours. But I think it'll take more than 2 hours to watch the video, so...
All right, here we go. 1090 Jake, welcome back to Vlad TV.
What's up, bro?
I do have a Twitch, but I don't know. I don't really like streaming on Twitch like that. I might go to Twitch after this. Like, I mean, not today, but I mean, like, next time. Maybe next time I'll stream on Twitch, but, like, I kind of want to multi-stream, but I don't know how. So I may have to find out, and then I'll try that. But until then.
Congratulations.
I used to stream on Twitch, though. Let me see. It should still be on here somewhere. Maybe not. I streamed this on Twitch, so... Okay. Yeah, this is my Twitch channel. I think it's associated with a VOD. Actually, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, this is my Twitch channel. I'll probably go back to it, like... I wasn't planning to go back to it at all, but, like, I'll see what's going on with it, like, in, next time or something. If next time ever comes, that is. Anyway, let's watch this video.
Big trip, went out to Europe with your girl, lived it up, I saw.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Of course, man, of course. Well, there's a lot to talk about, but we have to start with this whole Young Thug situation. Hey, listen, Young Thug was talking on that phone like it wasn't being recorded in jail.
Yeah.
Like he had a private cell phone or something and no one else knew what he was talking about. Like, are you surprised that all these leaks are coming out now?
I'm surprised because I've never heard it being done. Cause it's
Also, I watched like parts of this interview beforehand because you know he splits up his interviews in different parts. I watched the first couple parts, but I haven't seen the full interview, so like, you know.
like, who would really care about what somebody's talking about on a jail phone? Like, I know the police record it, and they're gonna listen if you say any crazy shit. I didn't know you could request it though. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, who's really gonna like want to listen to what somebody's talking about with their girl, whatever. But they hit a gold mine with this shit.
Build a website you love with Wix.
This stream better not be taken down.
For your words.
Well, before these phone calls got released, there was an interrogation video where Young Thug was talking about the whole Pee Wee Roscoe, Lil Wayne tour bus shooting situation.
Right.
Now, people are looking at this going, well, it seems like Young Thug is kind of snitching on Pee Wee.
Right.
What's your take on this?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say too much because
He was not snitching. Like, I have that narrative that like, oh, Young Thug called Gunna a rat, but he was a rat himself. Like he, in that whole video that they're talking about, they are blowing it so out of proportion. They just want to have a scenario where it's like the tables have turned, the turntables, but like that's not really similar at all. I don't think what Gunna did is like snitching, but like is disloyalty at the end of the day. Not that I care about street guys and what they go through. I don't care about criminals. But I'm just saying, is disloyal to the gang that, you know, if you admit it's a gang in a trial, like you're kind of betraying them in a way. In this interview, all Thug does is say like, I don't think that the guy you think did it. And to be fair, at least Tennessee Jake addresses that.
Even made a video on this situation yet. But he said too much. There's a lot of things he shouldn't have been talking about. There's no reason for him to have sat there for 2 hours. And I'll say this, if I did it, they'd flat out say I'm a rat. But you know...
Well, that's because this guy is like the biggest like rat catcher in the world. And he made a statement in jail saying that some like POs or something were violating him, or they were violating somebody else in like a cell. And I don't care about snitching, so like I'm not saying that's against him or whatever, but like the whole snitching thing has like different rules for different people.
There's gonna be selective politicking regardless. I know that something is standing out to me. The person that actually got the audio from the interrogation reached out to me when it originally happened. Nobody was saying anything that they're saying now back then. This isn't the first time that this has surfaced. It's just now everyone's capitalizing off of the situation. And I'm not sure why it's being viewed differently than how it was when it first came out.
Well, because now Young Thug is out of jail.
Like a year ago, if not 2 years ago.
Huh.
Like, this isn't a new video. It's been on YouTube for a minute. Just nobody...
I wish I had the video, like, I mean, I wish I saw the original upload of a video of him, like, in the interrogation from a year ago or 2 years ago. And to be fair, he was on trial 2 years ago, too, but, like, I guess when he came out of jail, there was a whole wave of people trying to, you know... Probably, I feel like a Gunna fan got mad about, like, him still insulting Gunna out of jail and decided to do it, but I don't know.
He spun that narrative. And the thing is, bits and pieces of this interview are being clipped. When things aren't played in their entirety, you can make something look however you want it to, right? And when people don't understand the context of a situation, you can portray it to be whatever you want. So I would just say, I'm going to break this down fully, but one thing to pay attention to, aside from him making a promise and, oh yeah, take my number down, da-da-da, that's crazy. But it's...
I mean, that is crazy, but it could be the case that he said that's to, like, make them think it's cooperative, just to give them no information again. He shouldn't have done that, just in the sense that it would be used against him later on, obviously. But, like, other than that, I don't think that itself is, like, proof that he's, like, talking behind the scenes or something.
As far as the shooting goes, he said he heard it was Pee Wee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're saying it was Pee Wee. They're saying it was Pee Wee. But prior to him saying that, they're talking about the news and TMZ.
I'm glad he brought this up because like that's what happened. Like in the interview video, he's like, "Oh, I heard that he did it, but I don't think he did it." And people are like, "Oh, you're such a you should say anything." It was already in the news. He got arrested for it. I don't know if he got arrested at the time, but like he was already on the news for like P. Reed was already he was on the news already for supposedly shooting at the tour bus.
Talking about Pee Wee. But if you clip that out and you just play what he's saying, it sounds like, oh yeah, I heard it on the streets, it was Pee Wee. When in all actuality, they're talking about, nah, the news is saying he did it. I don't know if he did it. I'm not trying to get involved with y'all case, but I don't know that.
Get more for less with Tim Hortons $1, $2, $3 menu. Order any size beverage and add a favorite.
So, for whatever reason, everybody's deciding to jump on him. He definitely said shit he shouldn't have. And the way he's trying to fix it, in my opinion, isn't working in his favor. He really should just stop talking about it. Because the interview he did when dude's really not pressing him on nothing, I've never even heard of that host.
There seems to be a consensus that he's just like stop talking, and I kind of agree. Like his credibility is like, I don't know, you're just making things worse and worse. And to be fair, like he would have had problems with a lot because people think all his like noise he's making is make his album is the reason his album flopped because his album didn't do that well. Well, his album didn't do as well as his last one before it. So people think it's like, oh, it's because like you did too much, but not really. I think it would have done poorly anyway, regardless of what he said, because literally nobody came out of jail and had a career upswing except for Gucci, and even then, like that was a different time. And also, it's sort of 48,000, which isn't that high, but it's not far off from like what he was doing before jail. What did it sell? 90,000? Okay, that's a lot higher. Never mind. But he didn't start selling these numbers until, wait. Alright. He didn't start selling these like 90,000, 100,000 numbers. What is going on? He didn't start selling these 90 to 100,000 numbers until, let's see. Like, this album didn't do that well. This album only sold, like, wait, I am tripping. What am I looking at? Okay, maybe I'm capped out. Maybe he just fell off. Maybe I'm giving some excuses. Maybe everything I just said was cap and I'm giving too many excuses. Okay, yeah. What he used to do was like he'd drop a mixtape, but he'd say it's an album first, and when it flopped, he's like, "Oh, it was a mixtape, so it's okay." Because this Jeffrey, it was billed as his first album when it came out. I remember, like they were like, "Oh, this is my first album. I'm gonna put it out," and then like it only sold like 18,000. I mean 37,000. He's like, "Oh, it was a mixtape." That's how a lot of these were. So, yeah.
Fuck that was. So that just makes it seem like you got somebody that's going to be on your side to speak on it. Really, he should have sat down with you, me, somebody, academic, someone that's more, actually covering the situation, instead of just making it seem like you sat down with someone that's going to favor your side of the story. But,
Well, I know who he sat down with. That's a Big Bank. He has a podcast with my man DJ Scream called Big Facts. I'm very familiar with that podcast. Big Bank has been, a figure in Atlanta, so I don't want to just make it seem like this is just a nobody that came out of nowhere. He's been doing his thing in Atlanta. He's been a street guy for a while, and he's got a podcast that's well known. Not the hugest podcast in the world, which is probably why it's not on your radar, but generally a well-known podcast. In fact, when I was in Atlanta,
I have the same face right now. I have the same face right now.
Wasn't right. And I think that Young Thug chose a guy that was sort of from the same environment as him and kind of grew up around the same time as him. He's a little bit older, but kind of understands where he's coming from. And he didn't even do it with the whole podcast crew. He did it specifically with Big Bank.
It's good, LJ.
So I'm not quite sure exactly what he meant to do, but I think the biggest problem here is that if Young Thug came out and said, listen, I was facing life in prison, I had to cooperate on certain things, I didn't get anyone arrested, but this is what I had to do, and if you choose to cooperate in your own way, if you're gonna or whoever else, that's fine, I understand it.
Well, he can't say that, though, because it wouldn't make any sense, one, because he wasn't facing life in prison when he did this interview that people are calling him out for. And on the other hand, he made a whole big deal about how Gunna's a rat for what he did. So he can't come out and say, oh, Gunna's cool.
Said he came out with like, yo, little baby, let's bash all these rats. You guys are...
He shouldn't have come out and been like, oh, yeah, Gunna's cool, it's okay to snitch. Because before he came out, he made a whole big deal about how he hated Gunna now. Even before he came out, he was behind the scenes plotting against him. So, like, all you should have did was just not say anything at all and just make music.
A bunch of snitches. You're a snitch. Gunner's a snitch. Yeah, Gotti's a snitch. I'm the only non-snitch.
Okay, but that song was hard, though. Like, I mean, you may not like the messaging, but that song was hard.
We have got to the point.
All these ads.
Niggas thought they left me, then we beat the yeah. Repair pants, I ain't going back and spinning. If you JC Penney's out the shot like I'm tired of, I ain't paying for it. Bought a ring and engraved, I done found my wife. Dug a man little flare, I had more hoes than I got hair. I hope every rat go camping and get ate by a bear. Skeet it in her face, she clean it off, just like Nell.
This song is just hard though, like.
I'm a big dog with my own nigga Obama. He still yeah correct, like other nigga treats. Yeah. Gunna rat, yeah correct. Slugger rat, wounded rat. Fuck that nigga Obama. He still mad by baby mama. Slime like Shawty. Make sure you put down your faulty. DK, okay, shit, he gay. Hey,
it's like the best part of this song, like, no.
Guy, I'm solid. I've never ratted. I've never snitched. I'm the poster boy of this.
He should have just said it in the music. He shouldn't have been in the interviews talking like that, on Twitter talking like that. I agree, but like, in music, this is cool. This is hard. He did exactly what he's supposed to do here.
Are rats, and then you come out with a video like this.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Well, he shot himself in the foot because the second you start standing on business like that, everyone's going to look into everything. And apparently, they're even going to look into your jail calls. So it's like...
This guy's talking from experience.
He kind of brought that on himself. The fact that damn near everybody in YSL told is crazy. But Thug isn't really keeping that energy with everybody, though, because his own brother, Funk, copped that same plea. So he did it to himself. And
well, I mean, in jail he claimed that he didn't tell him to, but then he admitted he did. He said that it was because, like, he wants to protect him or whatever. And also, Funk took the plea after Gunna, I'm pretty sure. Wait, actually, let me check to make sure. How old am I? I was born in 99.
Like
I know Gunna took his plea, like, in December. So... I'm just gonna see his plea when this guy took it. He took it in December, so Gunna took it first. Again, I knew when it happened. I thought it was kind of like weird that he was so mad at Gunna, but not his own brother. But I guess because Gunna was like the first to take a plea. I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean, two of the founders already like snitched beforehand, I think. But Gunna was like one of the first to take a plea. So after that, he was like, well, he might as well have his brother like be free at all costs too. But I don't want to make too many excuses for him, but like I really feel like there's a logical argument here, because like by the time Gunna took the plea, he knew like, okay, the floodgates already opened. I might as well just like get the most out of it by having my brother be free. And mind you, his brother's in jail again because he broke his probation.
It is what it is at this point.
I mean, didn't he somehow cop a similar plea as well?
Who, Thug?
Yeah.
I don't know if Thug's plea had to do the whole yes ma'am and YSL's a gang and all that.
Yeah,
extra
Thug's
shit.
plea was not the same at all.
Hold on.
And also, Thug took a plea when he was like one of the last three defendants left. So like, at that point, there was nobody else to snitch on, except two guys who also got like nothing.
What he pled guilty to? Young Thug. He entered a blind plea, a non-negotiated plea to 6 other charges and a no contest plea to the RICO charge and 1 gang charge. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit fuzzy. I mean, Brian Steele is obviously an expert in what he does, and
The problem isn't taking a plea. It's about the idea of like what the plea means. If you are by yourself and you take a plea deal, nobody cares except if you're some weird mafia guy in the 70s. The problem is it was a whole gang indictment, and Gunna said the gang exists when they're trying to make the defense of the gang doesn't exist. That's why it was such a betrayal. If the trial's over and everyone's already been convicted, and then you say, oh yeah, whatever, I admit to doing crimes, nobody is being implicated about what you said. So like, there's no equivalence with what Gunna and Young Thug did in the trials. It's not at all the same.
probably put it together a certain type of way, but
I mean, of course he's going to put it together a certain type of way, because at one point during the trial, they said that he sat down with...
I don't know about a streaming schedule, but if I stream again, it won't be until the 7th. I don't even know if I'll stream on the 7th, but I'm just saying, like, it won't be until then. So, like, next Tuesday. Or, I mean, this upcoming Tuesday.
In the back of a police car was talking about a murder, and Brian Steele was able to make it, so that never came up in court. You know what I mean? So, there's been a lot of iffy shit that's come out.
That, what he talked about with the young clip in the back of a cop car, I have heard of that. His lawyers say it wasn't real and that it didn't happen. But if the prosecution says they have evidence of it happening, I feel like it's similar to the interrogation video where he said, oh, I have some information. If you want to call me, let me know. Just to give them nothing. Which I'm not sure why he would do, but I don't know.
The thing about this is, though, there's no paperwork. It's literally him speaking. That's even worse. You know what I mean? Because it's like, homie, you didn't write it down. They didn't write it down. You can't say they lying. It came out of your mouth. And the only reason you got all this attention on you is because everything you just said about everybody else.
yeah, I mean, he accused Gunna, Duke, and Rollo of being real rats. Rollo started to respond like crazy. I mean, what exactly is Young Thug accusing Rollo of, and what exactly did Rollo do? I've always been a little confused about this part.
Yeah, I kind of don't get the inner rap stuff. Everyone's confused. Like, I even like all this other stuff about like these other guys, like a P and like Rollo. I don't even know what the guys are talking about. Like we don't even understand. None of us understand.
Because apparently, Thug said in the interview he did with Banks, is his name? The host in Atlanta, Banks. I'm not trying to disrespect. I just don't.
Big Bank.
Right.
Big
so
Bank.
he said in that interview that Rollo was going to testify against him. Now, this doesn't make sense for a couple of different reasons. Rollo had a Fed case. Thug had a state case. And then they had the same.
Hey, man, what's the best advice you can give someone that's in sales?
Switch to Monday CRM.
Oh,
same lawyer apparently.
You know, I feel some way about him in general over like how his whole career is about, you know, proving people snitch or whatever. But I do respect, like, he knows the law. Like, not that he's a lawyer or whatever, but like a lot of people have the most bare minimum understanding of anything when it comes to like the legal system, and it annoys me to hear them talk. But he at least understands like the actual court process, and it's like refreshing to see someone in this world for once who does.
So that in itself would be a conflict of interest. No, how are you going to represent the person who's going to snitch against the other person you're representing? A lot of the shit didn't make sense, right? But Thug, at the same time, seems to be just putting out whatever he can to try to alleviate his situation. I personally think he has a PR team that's trying to get him to, you know, just like he said he was flirting with the cop. He wasn't trying to give his number because he ended up giving the number to the male cop who was in the room at the same time. How are you flirting with the female cop and there's a male present? That doesn't really make sense. He's not going to go for that. She said, I don't have your number. He said, you can give it to me. Then the audio goes out because he gives his number. So it's like, it's a tricky situation as far as...
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to prove, but if they could prove anything Young Thug gave them, let's win arrest or conviction, then Young Thug is over. But they probably can't because it probably didn't happen.
Rollo sat down and told them a bunch of bullshit that didn't go through. That was the Rollo case, end of story. He didn't cooperate on no fucking body. He had a dude hating on him in Atlanta that got exposed for having fake jewelry and everything else. And that was about it. But QCP got brought up too, though.
Yeah.
And he told. So it's like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know that's Wack's man, and Wack gonna say whatever he want to, but at the end of the day, QCP says he ain't street. Wack says he ain't street. There's a piece of paper.
Okay, here's what I was thinking about earlier today. He
wrote to the police. He wrote a statement and signed it saying, I confronted so-and-so about a murder. He ran to his car and grabbed a gun and chased me into the mall. And it says, were you in fear for your life? And he wrote, yes, with an exclamation point. He signed off. If you ain't street, why are you confronting somebody about a body?
So civilians aren't allowed to like do anything to or like confront at all like street people. Okay.
And when they go and get their gun and chase you, why are you telling the police?
It's like people have this idea about snitching that like varies from person to person. Some people think that if you're a civilian and you call the cops, it's okay. That's not snitching. But if you're a street guy and you call the cops, then now you're a snitch. But QCP is like, he's not a street guy. He's a civilian. That's what he claims, a civilian. And then, but 90 Jake, so 1090 just goes on to the snitch. But it's like 1090 Jake himself wrote a statement saying that some COs in a jail were misbehaving. But he's like, that's okay because, like, you know, it's okay to basically snitch on, like, the cops and, like, correctional officers. How? If your logic is that no man deserves jail and that's why snitching is, like, wrong, then wouldn't you put a cop in jail if you snitch on them? And if your logic is, like, oh, well, if you snitch, civilians they don't have to, snitch doesn't apply to them because, you know, they're not part of the game, so they can tell the cops they want to. I get that, but that's not you don't buy that for QCP though. So you're like, it's not right for him to do what he did, but at the same time, like, you made a statement to the authorities saying that the COs of wherever you stayed were being, like, improper. It's all too much.
Yeah. A lot of these rules, man, like, honestly, I've said this, me and Wack were talking about this in our last interview. I feel that if you are involved actively in crime, like this is your main source of income for at least 5 years, and you haven't done any real prison time, you've probably cooperated along the way.
Probably not. Well, I mean, probably not. I don't think there's I wouldn't put probably on that. Like, you could be a criminal for your whole life and never cooperate if you just know how to hide. I don't recommend it because you shouldn't be a criminal at all, but I'm just saying, like, I don't believe that. I mean, probably is a strong word. I think if you're a criminal in general, there's a high chance you cooperated, jail or not. But, like, I wouldn't say just because you didn't go to jail, that means, like, that's a proof. Like, you should use that evidence that somebody's, like, probably telling.
Stay out of jail in one way or another. Whether you're giving statements to the police off the record, whether you have a cop friend that you're passing information to that's keeping you off people's radar, if you go in for an interrogation and you think that no one knows about it, at some point, the police and law enforcement are going to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, law enforcement works with informants and cooperators. That's how the system works.
Right.
If you take all that away, the cops are just looking at each other going, we don't know what's happening.
Well, this is the thing, too, right? You got a lot of people portraying like they're involved with shit when they're not. And then at the same time, you have people that will genuinely want to know what the fuck the police are talking about. So if you get pulled and they bring you into a room, I got put into an interrogation room. They never dropped it. Let me tell you why.
Well, I mean, being in an interrogation room in itself is not like an indictment on your character. It's about what you say in the room.
Pulled me from my jail dorm, brought me down to medical, because that's where they have the interview rooms at Hillsborough County Jail.
Okay, he's going to talk about it.
Not. And then at the same time, you have people that will genuinely want to know what the fuck the police are talking about. So if you get pulled...
This part of the interview on what I've not seen before. Well, I didn't see some of the minutes before either. I haven't seen, like, since probably, like, a couple minutes ago on what I haven't seen this part of the interview.
Bring you into a room. I got put into an interrogation room. They never dropped it. Let me tell you why. I was in jail. They pulled me from my jail dorm, brought me down to medical, because that's where they have the interview rooms at Hillsborough County Jail. They brought me into a room. It's two dudes in suits. They sit me down. Oh, we're here to talk about the robbery at your uncle's house. I don't have an uncle in Florida. Oh, well, we're here to talk about this and da-da-da and 15 guns, whatever. You can either talk to us or tell us to piss off. I told them to fuck off. They wrote piss off in the paperwork. After I said that, the interview was terminated and I got brought back to my dorm. But they don't put that out. They don't put that paperwork out because it makes me look fucking fantastic. But the thing is, I'm in there for less than 5 minutes. I know what y'all want to talk about, and then I'm gone. It doesn't take 2 hours. Doug was in that bitch for 2 hours. You know what they want to know. Once you know what they want to know, you get the fuck out of there.
What if you just want to waste their time?
Yeah, Gotti was in there for 6 hours. So it's like, you could try to say you're playing them, you're doing this and that. Once you know what they're trying to figure out, you get up out of there.
I kind of agree with him, though. I don't think that's proof they're snitching, but, like, if you're a street guy, don't even take the risk.
Too much, you find yourself in a position like this. And if they got you on video or audio saying, oh, I'll tell y'all whatever, just promise you won't expose me, you know that sounds crazy.
Also, yeah, that was a weird line he said. He said, don't make sure this doesn't come out. Like, that's a worrying line. But hold on a second. I want to check something out real quick. All right.
You can't really defend that.
Yeah, well, I interviewed Yak Gotti recently in Atlanta, and I brought up your name and the accusations and so forth. And did you hear that?
Nah. How recent was this?
This was, I don't know, a few weeks ago. Well, when you were on Danza.
I was on Danza.
You were on Danza.
For sure.
And he talked about how Whack 100 and 1090 Jake accused you of being a snitch.
1090 a bitch. Tonight Jake a bitch.
He said I'm a bitch.
Cause he won't say it in my face. I dare you.
You want to FaceTime right now?
I don't do no FaceTime, say in my face.
Okay.
Yeah, we from the street. Like, I don't know damn FaceTime.
Again, we have like the same face right now.
Okay.
And we FaceTime, like, hey, what sound? Pull up, like, or I pull up, or whatever. We sit down and like, but don't speak on my motherfucking story when you don't know what the hell going on with me.
Okay.
You feel me? Everybody like, you feel me? Don't speak on me, bro. You don't know me, you don't know. You can't, I wear a size 9.5, 10. You can't fit either or.
What about WAC 100? There you have it.
We have the same face right now.
I was trying to get you guys to FaceTime, but he didn't want to do it, so.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
All right.
We just left it at that.
He said I'm a bitch, but he the bitch that talked to the police. Right? He the bitch that did a 6-hour he the bitch that told the police, I don't want to talk anymore. Then they gave him a fast food sandwich and he sat down for an extra 2 hours. He's that bitch. He the bitch that told the police he gave the rifle to what's his name, Shannon Stillwell, Duke, whoever the fuck that is, and he used that in retaliation in a shooting. That's how he got his homie indicted. He's that bitch. And he right, I can't fit no size 9.5. I'm 11.5. But he's that bitch. So he could be mad at me, but really he mad at himself. That's all it is.
He's mad at himself. Okay.
Well, he ultimately took it to court and he won.
That's good for him. Did his
all
homie
the way
win?
to the verdict. I'm sorry?
Did his homie win?
Yeah.
The homie that he said had the rifle, because he went to state prison for that, then got indicted again.
Was it Shannon Stillwell?
I believe so.
I even know what they're talking about right now.
That's
Part of me
Duke,
wants to
right?
skip it, but I don't know if they're going to talk about something that actually matters.
Shannon Stillwell alias.
Alright, I'm just giving them...
No, that's SB.
That's SB.
I'm going to give them a couple more minutes to talk about something that actually matters.
Let me see, because I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you exactly what the fuck he did.
Yeah, Shannon Stillwell ended up beating that case. Along with Yak Gotti.
Right, but you got to understand that all of these charges were things that they were already going to prison for.
Okay.
So some of them already did time for this shit. Then they got re-indicted under a RICO for things that they'd already been convicted on. That's how they got fucked over in the case.
Is that not
DeMonte Kendricks, yeah.
double jeopardy or something? Look, what is he talking about?
Yak Gotti?
So people got convicted of something and then got convicted for it again after already being charged and sentenced for it. Maybe he misspoke or maybe I misheard or something. That doesn't make any sense.
Hold on a second. Yeah, Gotti, real name. Yeah, DeMonte Kendrick.
Perfect. So in his federal appeal, right, filed in 2018, DeMonte Kendricks appealed his 57-month imprisonment imposed after he pled guilty to one count of being a felon in possession of a firearm. Now, at the bottom of this, it says he argues that his sentence is substantively unreasonable because the district court refused to impose a greater downward variance to avoid unwarranted disparity in sentencing between himself and his state co-defendant, and to account for the fact that, but for Kendrick's honesty, when questioned by police, his guideline sentence would have been lower. So you're fighting in your appeal, hey, I told y'all the truth and nothing but the truth when y'all investigated me. How come I didn't get a good deal, right? That's one.
State Farm helps make renters...
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily have to snitch to, like, tell the truth in an interview. You could be more forthcoming about your role in a crime without necessarily indicting or, like, not indicting, without necessarily implicating somebody else. I'm not saying he didn't snitch, maybe he did, he probably did, but, like, that in itself is not definite proof he snitched.
In subsequent...
This is definite proof he snitched.
Police, Kendricks admitted that he owned the rifle and that he lent it to Arnold, who planned to use it that night to retaliate against a rival gang who beat him up. Kendricks also told police that the pistol was his and described an unrelated incident involving that firearm.
That's actually
so
snitching.
you told him you gave a gun to somebody that was used to retaliate against a gang, right? Then you identified another gun that was used in another situation. Let's see what this one says. Kendricks placed the initials DK to the right of each paragraph. Although the charges pending against Kendricks were as listed at the beginning of this fact section, Thorpe filed in murder only in the Miranda form because it was the most serious offense that the detectives wanted to question him. About 2.5 hours into the questioning, while Kendricks was being questioned by the two detectives, he announced he wanted his lawyer and he doesn't want to talk anymore. There was no further questioning. He was then escorted to the salad port to smoke a cigarette, and while there, he volunteered that he would continue to talk to the detective as long as the other detective was not present. Taken back into the interview room, he was provided with a fast food sandwich. When the detective re-entered the interview room, the detective recounted the salad port conversation for the recording. Kendricks acknowledged that he wanted to continue the questioning without a lawyer. The questioning then resumed and later ended, and he went on for the remainder of the time. So, that's that bitch. Tell me when I did that.
Man, these things are so complex and convoluted.
Again, you made a statement saying that, like, if you okay, this guy kind of explained. I kind of want to see the statement itself, but this guy's basically he's defending Tony Jake, saying he didn't snitch. But it's not about giving new information. He said that cops did something they weren't supposed to. If somebody commits a crime and then like they're under investigation for it and then you say yeah they did that crime, like that doesn't make it not snitching just because he already is investigated for it. Again, I'm not even calling AJ snitch. I'm just saying like these rules are just I don't know.
It's really not, though. The only thing that makes it complex is when the whole fucking gang is snitching. That's what makes it complex. Usually only one person, they fuck it up for everybody. One person, Woody, fucked it up for YSL, then we found out everybody else followed through.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 4.
They were all doing the same shit. So he can't say he didn't, I don't have to know him. All I gotta do is just read his case. All anybody has to do is read his federal appeal. All the paperwork is there. You sat down for 6 hours, and I dropped this shit before Wack dropped the actual video interview. I had the transcripts of everything that he said. So it's like, go ahead and tell me. I've never sat for 6 fucking hours with the police and was given a cigarette and a sandwich. I never got that treatment.
You know what people are saying? You know, like the YSL album cover?
Yeah.
They're saying the dog is the only one that didn't snitch in this picture.
That's fucking crazy.
Right here. Yeah, man, they're calling it Ratlanta right now.
I don't know if that's a real snitch.
Rat Gotti.
YSL? Oh, I haven't heard that one. That's a new one.
Yeah, shit's crazy.
YSL. Yeah, I mean, like I said, but do you agree with my statement, though? If there are guys out there that are doing crimes for 5+ years and never go to prison, never get more than a little, whatever, a week or 2 in jail, I say that they all pretty much have cooperated at some point.
Not
People just may not know about it. Do you agree or disagree?
I wouldn't generalize it to that extent. But I'll say that the percentage of people that snitching is way higher than what people thought. I think it's close to the 80-90% of everyone involved in crime has done some form of cooperation.
Well, when you set the bar in weird places, I guess.
And the reality is, the reason why there's not this huge blowback on these artists who cooperate is because 99% of their audience, who are regular working people, look at this and say, I probably would have done the same thing. Am I right?
I mean, I never thought that, but...
You're not that 99%. I'm talking about the 99% who are kids in high school, kids in college, people that work in Amazon, people who have regular jobs.
I feel like when they're by themselves, yeah, that's what they'll say. But when they're with their friends, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's a bitch, and he should have did forever," and da da da, and you know.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that all these people who are
they're
fans
both
of these
kind of
artists,
right. They're both kind of right because individually, most people don't care about snitching because they're not criminals. But at the same time, like, not people like Gunna as a person for some reason. So like they don't care if he snitched or not. They like him. But when Tekashi snitched, like it really was like even though he still got listened to, like people still listen to him after he snitched and everything. A lot of people were like publicly disowning him for doing it.
if they get put in that situation where they're like, listen, do you want to do 20 years in prison or do you want to cooperate? They would all just cooperate. You disagree with me on this?
But the thing is, like, it's not about just the people being like, oh, I do it myself. The rappers are saying being a rat's the worst thing you could ever be, no matter what. So when they rat, it's like you're the one who said it's the worst crime you could ever do is be a rat. So like, now that you said that, I can't take you seriously anymore, regardless of what I would have done in the situation.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Cause I know some people that, you know, got involved in stupid shit that they literally didn't have anything to do with, and they got themselves fried in court. Sadly.
And you think they regret those decisions?
Oh, 100%, yeah. But they thought they were doing the real thing. That's another thing.
Okay, but that's not addressing what Vlad's saying, because you know some too, like some people who are like low IQ. What Vlad is saying is that like the average person doesn't care about snitching, which is true, because they snitch themselves, so it's whatever.
There's a percentage of people that kept it real that wish they told.
Right.
That's another factor in prison, bro. Yeah. That's why people end up snitching 40 years later. Or find that, oh, I can get out like this? Yeah, he did it. He's dead, but he did this. All that shit. There's a lot of people that regret the decision of keeping it real because they realize once you're 3 years, 5 years inside of prison, none of that shit fucking mattered.
Hey, man, can you share your #1 tip for business success?
Switch to Monday CRM.
Oh.
I think when they get off the Young Thug topic, I'll probably end this part of the video. Maybe I'll go back to it on my Tuesday stream if I stream on Tuesday. But yeah, I'll probably talk about power a little. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just end the stream entirely. But yeah, I'm gonna wait for them to get off the Thug topic, and then I'll just pause the video for now.
None of it. There's a group of people waiting for you in prison that are going to embrace you and be happy you're there. Oh, you're with this shit? Oh, you killed 3 people? Oh, yeah, here's a knife. We're going at it with them. Yeah, we need you active tomorrow on the yard. We're happy you're here, bro. Yeah, let's do this 40 years together. No, I don't want to fucking do that. But there's mad people inside of prison that wish they could have told or wish they didn't take that route and that they were out with their family because now they're doing forever and everyone's fucking dying. Their whole bloodline's dying off. Their kids don't want nothing to do with them because they chose the gang over their family, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it was Lil Woody when I think he said that when he was in the feds, he would meet 2 types of people. People that told and people that wish they told.
No.
This is kind of weird because you went to jail yourself. You went to prison. So are you saying that you wish you told?
Woody's having a field day with this.
Or are you saying that you're part of the 1% that didn't tell and also as glad they didn't tell?
He's like, look, man, now I'm not the snitch anymore. Now Young Thug is a snitch as well.
Nah, I mean,
And-
Woody's still the snitch. Woody's just slow, so he gets a pass off of being retarded. Like, that's all that is. Like, everybody can tell he's not all the way there. And that's another factor in the streets, is you got crash outs that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And they do crazy shit, and they're not all the way there. So it's like, no one's really tripping on Woody for that shit.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, and I think Woody made a good point, Young Thug really is the reason why everyone was involved in this shit. Like this whole case and everything else like that, Young Thug really is the epicenter. Ultimately, people
No, they put themselves in the situation by committing crimes.
were riding with Young
I know he's their leader and he's paying them, but like you actually didn't have to do anything. Like you are in jail for crimes you committed.
Young Thug, and I think Young Thug was setting the direction of where this group of people were going. Now, ultimately, he probably would have beaten the RICO if it went to court, because I think that what the DA did was so overbearing and was trying to do so much at the same time. But I think if they had really focused on one or two things that Young Thug did in terms of furtherance of the gang.
They didn't beat the RICO, and it did go to courts, so I'm not sure what he means by that.
And so forth, I think he would have been convicted if it went to, the jury.
No.
That's what I think. Young Thug is obviously the leader, right? You can't say that there is some, drug kingpin at the heart of this organization that's really calling the shots, and Young Thug is really scared of him, and he's being told what to do and so forth. You have, there's no Suge Knight in YSL, right? There's no business guy that's really out there making everyone do a whole bunch of crazy shit. I think that Young Thug ultimately was someone who grew up kind of awkward, kind of a weird looking kid. He was wearing dresses when he was younger, and
Get more for less with Tim Hortons $1, $2, $3 menu. Order any size beverage.
had a whole bunch of kids and was sort of involved in a whole bunch of kind of questionable stuff. Because listen, I've talked to people offline that told me stuff that Young Thug was involved in that they covered for. Right? This is what I'm saying. That there was crimes that Thug was definitely involved in that other people took the rap for.
Right.
And I'm not going to say who it is because it was a private conversation off the record. Right? And this is important in my line of work, that I keep these type of conversations private. But I can tell you that he was involved in a whole bunch of stuff. He was pushing the line. He was causing these beefs. Him and Lucci were going at it. He's doing lyrics about your mom getting shot and his mom really to get shot and that type of stuff. And he was embracing this whole blood,
he's a criminal,
gangster kind of image, and he was doing well financially with it. And everyone else around him was, okay, whatever you want to do. You're the big dog here. You're the big artist. We're going to go along with what you're doing. And look, and it's not like I'm talking out of my ass. I've had guys around me that are willing to do violent things for my behalf. I learned early on that this is a road you don't want to be on, because ultimately what's going to happen is people are going to get hurt, they're going to press charges, they're going to sue, and it's all going to come back down to you. So at that point, I said, okay, let me get rid of these kind of knuckleheads around me and get real security and get, off-duty cops or actual licensed people who have guns legally.
Wait, Vladimir had Bloods and Crips on his security detail before he got regular security? Is that what you're trying to say right now?
Will take the stand if necessary, and I'm going to surround myself with these types of people when I feel my safety is somehow compromised. But Thug was the reason why all this happened.
Well, you got to look
agree or
at
disagree?
it. You got to look at it like.
I mean, again, Thug is a criminal, so he's charged for being a criminal, and his associates are criminals who got charged for being criminals. So Thug is the leader, but they wouldn't be in this situation if they weren't committing crimes. So I'm not sure what he's trying to get at with that.
Nobody's gonna do something that he doesn't want them to do.
Right.
If you did something so crazy like how he's saying Woody broke in a Nuts car and took his jewelry, whatever. If you did something so crazy that jeopardized Thug would have cut you off. So the fact that everyone remained in the circle while all the madness was happening, it kind of speaks for itself. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because I think people want to be around that star power. They want to be backstage at the shows. They want to be at the parties. They want to have access to all the IG models and all the OnlyFans girls. And
yeah, but then
the
rappers want to be dangerous too. And
right,
if
and the rappers want to have that dangerous element
around. They don't
around.
have to do it, and they can just they can make shit happen. They like that power, so it's like that's just I wouldn't solely blame it on Thug, but he's definitely got a lot of responsibility in the situation.
I would put it all on Thug, honestly. At the
Well,
end
all
of the
these
day,
guys
man,
did it though, so it's like
I could blame my employees for what happens at Vlad TV, but really it's my fault. When my employees mess up, like for example, the Little Dirk issues that I've had for years, we put out a piece of footage he asked us not to put out about a baby that he was having. One of my employees dropped the ball. He's not mad at my employees, he's mad at me.
Right.
I had to go and ultimately fix that.
You're comparing like a mistake to like a crime. I don't know the situation what he's talking about with his employee dropping the ball or whatever, but like if your employee accidentally does something because he didn't know he was not supposed to do it, that's not the same of somebody committing a crime because they want to get money and then somebody told them to do the crime in the first place and they agreed to do the crime. If Young Thug is a leader, all right, we all understand that, and it's a game, we understand that. But the people who did the crimes chose to commit crimes and then paid for it. They didn't have to do anything. And it wasn't a mistake. They knew they were crimes when they committed them. They just thought they could get away with it.
Could say, oh no, it was these other guys. No, it was Thug. He had control. He could have cut people off. He could have gotten rid of people. And sometimes though, like, you end up getting stuck with certain people. You have people around you that do so much dirt and know so much about you and could ultimately send you to prison that you kind of have to keep them around.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words.
Well, let me ask you, do you think Thug is a rat?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel that those statements mentioning Pee-wee and the shooting, if he really was an actual real street, figure, he would just say no comment. I don't know. Let me speak to my lawyer. That there would not be anything regarding the shooting.
The
and
only
the person
weird
who ultimately
thing
was
he
convicted
did was say, the only two weird things he did was say, please don't leak this out. But to be fair, that could have been like the more music industry thing, because he didn't want people to like know what his next steps were musically. Because for all that interview, he was just talking about music in general. He was talking about like his music side of business. So you could make the argument he was saying don't let this leak out because he didn't want like people in the streets to know his like artistic, background. I mean, like how he like wants to do things moving forward artistically. But I mean, that was a weird thing to say. And then also the giving the number for later talks, like that was also like questionable. But in the interview, like on the almost 2 hour thing itself, he has not snitched once.
as the shooter.
Right.
Now, me and Pee Wee Roscoe actually had a conversation the other day. We're talking about doing an interview together. So he's going to go and talk about all this in depth for the first time. And at the end of the day, I think he still rocks with Young Thug, and I think Thug probably helps him out and so forth.
Well, if he wasn't before, he's definitely going to help him out now. But the thing is this, right? Thug said, I was trying to help my homie, right? And when you listen to the clips, it doesn't sound like that at all. But there's a few things that stuck out.
It does.
One thing that everybody got on his ass for was he said Roscoe was the one bringing Lil Wayne his drugs.
I guess in his mind he thought that like that wasn't what he was being charged for, so it doesn't matter if he said it. That was a weird thing to say though. I mean, obviously like he should have been more like on top of everything, I guess, but
Now he's not.
Well. Okay, hold on. I think he said weed.
No, I think he said drugs.
It doesn't matter if he said weed or drugs. Weed is illegal in the state, in Louisiana. At least it was in 2015. So it would have been illegal either way.
I think he said drugs. Regardless, though.
Well, no, okay, look. All right, well, I think Roscoe, Pee Wee Roscoe mentioned that he sold Lil Wayne some weed. I don't know whether Thug said drugs or not, but I think they're talking about weed. I think. Who knows?
Whether it's weed, coke, Molly, whatever Wayne needed, the statement is being used as, oh, look, you told on him right here.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get.
But from Thug's perspective,
like nobody cares about selling weed though, so it's whatever.
No, I'm bridging the gap between they were associates. There wasn't a beef. Nah, they're cool. He was selling him shit. Now they're cool with each other. So I can understand Thug's perspective of, nah, I was trying to play the police. I'm saying something that they're going to pay attention to, but it's like, yeah, he was selling them drugs, but that's because they're cool. And then he disrespected dude and was like, nah, Roscoe's the type of guy you can slap him and he'll cry. He's trying to make him sound pussy. Because if he makes him sound pussy, it doesn't sound like he would go shoot a bus up. So there's things that he said that align with the excuse that he's given. But when you clip things up, like I said earlier, into what you want to make it, you can make it seem horrible. So it's just like, you know, there's things that he shouldn't have said, but some things also align with the narrative he's trying to give.
Well, Tekashi 6ix9ine entered the chat, and he basically is calling out Young Thug. He said, I never told all my friends why everybody's so quiet. And he was tagging Lil Baby, Future, and 21 Savage. He says, when the song's coming out, calling your man Spider a rat. I did it, and what? Young Thug said to the police, take my number, call me, just don't tell nobody you got my number. How you going to defend that?
Because he didn't actually rat, unlike Tekashi.
Back talked about it. He was saying how Young Thug is actually more dangerous than Tekashi, because at least Tekashi told in public, Young Thug was telling in private, and then going back and hanging out with those same people again.
That's stupid because nobody got convicted for anything Young Thug said, and people got convicted for what Tekashi said.
Who's more dangerous, 6ix9ine or Thug? And we're talking 6ix9ine after his indictment. After 6ix9ine did everything he did, and they ran the narrative on 6ix9ine, who was more dangerous, 6ix9ine or Thug? Now let's talk about the Thug interviews with Gillian Wallow, how he can smell a rat, how he say he can tell if a dude a rat. I'm gonna tell you why 6ix9ine is harmless. You know why he's harmless?
Because everyone knows that he snitches.
Thug is dangerous. And that interrogation, you remember the first time you had sex, Vlad?
Yes.
A little nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, right? Second, third, fourth, fifth time, confidence is up.
Right.
No problem, right?
No problem.
Thug was 24 in that interrogation. Let me explain something to you. Police don't pull you in and tell you, we ain't got nothing on you. You want an attorney, and you decline the attorney, and you talk to these people for 2.5 hours going over everything about everybody and want me to believe that's your first time doing that. He was too comfortable in that seat, bro.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This.
Yeah, but you gotta follow the trail of money, though. Who does Wack work with?
Tekashi.
And who else does he work with? QCP.
Oh, does he? Okay.
So have you ever heard Wack speak out against somebody he gets money with?
No.
Right.
He actually went into the whole QCP situation. He talked about how when the guy ran in with the gun in the mall, like lots of people were calling 911 and so forth. So by the time they got to P, then it kind of didn't matter.
No, it mattered. P wrote a statement and signed it. What Pyru can write a statement like that and sign it and not be a snitch?
All right, this video.
What the fuck you mean? Oh, he ain't a street.
I think I'll finish the rest of it when I stream next time. Maybe not the rest of it, but like another section of it when I stream next time. But that'll about do it for today. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys had a